He says, I can't think for a second that I would leave this world having denied the existence of the Imam of my time. Man mata la ya'rifu imam zamanihi mata mitatan jahiliyyah. Imam al-Sadiq says, mitata kufrin wa nifaq. A death of disbelief and hypocrisy. Especially when it comes to jahd, denial, outright rejection.
Ma amartuhum bihada. I have not ordered them or commanded them with any such thing. I have not imparted any such teaching to them. If they are claiming this in my name, then they are liars. وَلَا قُلْتُ لَهُمْ. And I have not said any such thing to them, that there is among us Ahlul Bayt and Imam, who if you don't believe in him, you die a death of Jahiliyyah or Kufr or Nifaq or any such thing. لَا قُلْتُ لَهُمْ. The Imam says, I did not say any such thing. Nor did I say that they should say this in my name. فَمَا ذَنْبِي. So what is my sin? Does the Quran give you any sense, any idea whatsoever, that after the Holy Prophet ﷺ, there are entities in whom you are supposed to have Iman the same way you are supposed to have Iman in the Holy Prophet ﷺ? He says, فَقَالَ. They both of the sons of Imam Zainul Abidin responded by saying, لَا وَاللَّهِ مَا هَذَا فِينَا. They said, no, we swear by Allah, there is no such thing in our family. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not instituted any such institution within our family. مَنْ قَالَ هَذَا فِينَا فَهُوَ كَذَّابٌ. Whosoever makes such a claim about us, the Ahlul Bayt, is a kadhab, is a serial liar. So he replies, Wallah lamata abi fama awsa biharfain. He says, I swear by Allah, our father died right in front of us. We did not see him designate anyone. We did not see him even say two words in designating anyone. They saw an opportunity. They said, okay, if we boost and upgrade the status of the Imam, we give him divine authority. And then the aim in giving them divine authority was always to say that after you accept them as the divine authority, you have to accept me as his representative. And then submit money to me. Submit funds. I'm collecting funds in his name. And those funds would then be eaten up by that agent. Our books are full of this, Maulana. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. My respected elders, my dearest youngsters, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum, jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight I want to continue responding to a follow-up question that we received that's based on the lecture that we delivered the last time. And the questioner is asking us, based on the clarification that we'd made about the two aspects of our deen. We mentioned that our deen is divided into two parts, the bayyinat, the qat'iyat or yaqiniyat, musallamat, different synonyms, all of which refer to the same reality of our faith, which is the absolutely clear-cut qat'i teachings of our religion, the clearest teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah, in which there is no scope for ijtihad, in which we are not allowed to exercise any kind of independent reasoning because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made them so clear. It's almost as if He has given these teachings to us on a silver platter. And so there is just no excuse for a Muslim and a believer who has received the Quran and received the Sunnah. For such a Muslim, the Hujjah is complete and all escape routes have been sealed. Because where Allah is extremely clear, you don't really have much room for wiggling out or for maneuvering or manipulating or making any kind of valid argument in case of failure. Allah has made those teachings so clear, like Tawheed and Risala and Ma'ad and the moral teachings of the Quran, as well as the commands for the Furu'ud-Din, whether it be fasting or prayer or zakat. These are such clear things that for a Muslim who has received the Quran and Sunnah, there is just no scope for any argument or for any ijtihad, because that would become ijtihad fi muqabil al-nas. That would be ijtihad that defies clear texts. And such an ijtihad is invalid and does not exonerate or exempt its practitioner from blame in the court of God. So that was the bayinat aspect. And then you mentioned that there are zanniyat. Okay, these are the gray areas of the deen where the transmissions are conflicting, they're sometimes mutually contradictory. One transmission from the Prophet says this, another transmission says this, and the human intellect is not really capable of determining with precision and certainty which transmission is the actual one. And similarly, most of the sectarian disputes that happened at later stages, these are issues on which the Quran and Sunnah were largely silent. This is the whole reason why disputes erupted. And so in these areas, we said that as a layperson, you don't even need to go into these areas. But if you go and if you study and if you make an ijtihad-based mistake in these areas, then it can easily be forgiven, provided you didn't do anything that entails a violation of any of the qat'iyat or the clear teachings, which Allah can then hold against you in that event. So the question that is being asked based on this is that, okay, Sayyidina, you are saying that, for example, things like the traditional 12-hour Imami understanding of divine Imamah, for example, that you are placing this in the Zanniyat. And by the way, this is not me personally placing this. This is the highest level scholarship, critical scholarship. This is where it places it. I have previously showcased evidence of how, for example, Ayatollah Al-Uzma Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id Tabatabai Hakim, he has written that book, Usulul Aqidah, in which he clearly mentions that the daruriyat of deen or the usul of deen are only three: Tawheed, Risala, and Ma'ad. Whereas Imamah and Adl he places among the daruriyat of the madhab. And these are sectarian beliefs. Now, why is there a distinction being made between essential beliefs of the sect and essential beliefs of the deen? Because there is an understanding at the highest level of scholarship that the sectarian beliefs, such as Adl and Imamah, because they are not clearly made qat'i in the Quran, and because even the hadith transmission regarding these is not such that it gives the ummah certainty, naturally, these kinds of beliefs cannot be imposed on the entire ummah. Rather, they can only be imposed on those who are convinced by them. If a person says, "Lam yathbut indi," the evidence is not qat'i, obviously, it is accepted now that the evidence for these kinds of sectarian beliefs is not qat'i. Even Ayatollah Al-Uzma Sayyid Al-Shaheed Muhammad Baqir Al-Sadr, this is the whole reason why he also admitted that Imamah is not among the daruriyat of the deen. And that's why the one who rejects it is neither a kafir, nor does he become najis. He continues to be a brother in faith. He continues to be a Muslim, and his deen is not affected by it. And so the whole reason why why Usuli scholarship has removed Imamah from Usulul Deen and from Daruriyat of Deen and shifted it to the beliefs of the madhab is because the evidence for it is zanni. And when the evidence for something is zanni, you cannot impose it on the entire ummah. You can only impose it on the person, or you can only expect the person who is actually convinced by the zanni evidence to believe in it. The rest of the ummah that's not convinced by this zanni evidence, and in fact they have counter zanni evidence that goes against this theory, then they cannot be held blameworthy. So once this is so this is not my personal opinion that Imamah is not is as a sectarian belief. It is not part of the daruriyat of the deen or the usul of deen. The highest level 12 Imami scholarship has affirmed this much. Okay, but then the question comes is that Sayyidina, the highest level scholarship may say this, but what we hear from the pulpit is a very different story, because from the pulpit you have a lot of gaslighting, and you have these speakers who try and arm twist or browbeat the audience. They use scare tactics and they use emotional religious manipulation to give the public the impression that sectarian beliefs such as divine Imamah are such that they're absolutely essential pillars of the religion, such that if a person does not believe them, then he dies a death of jahiliyyah, he gets deprived of salvation on the Day of Judgment, which obviously is an irrational claim, because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself does not mention something clearly in the Quran, the Sunnah does not make it clear. It does not make it, he does not preserve the evidence for it in such a way that it becomes qat'i al-sudur and qat'i al-dalala, then he's basically opening a hujjah for his slaves against him on the Day of Judgment. As in, the slaves can say, Allah, if you had made this, see, everything that you made qat'i al-sudur and qat'i al-dalala, yani you made it such that there can be no doubt about it, you made it part of the bayinat of the Quran or the mutawatir tabaqi transmissions of the Sunnah, we accepted. You emphasize Tawheed in the Quran, we accepted it. You emphasize Risala, we accepted it. You emphasize Ma'ad, we accepted it. If you had emphasized something else in addition to this, or if you had listed it in the articles of faith that you require for a mu'min to believe in, then nothing would have stopped us from believing in it. But you yourself gave stepmotherly treatment to this doctrine, assuming you even cared about it. You did not make it part of the bayinat of the Quran. It was not part of the that kind of sunnah like Zuhr is 4 rak'ah and Fajr is 2 rak'ah that was transmitted by the entire ummah collectively, such that we should have absolutely no doubt about it. Rather, when we go into the sources, we get to see evidence that this is a doctrine that was developed much later. And then even when it was developed, it evolved and people were confused about it. The very people who developed it themselves fell into confusion about in regards to it. So how could we have believed in something like this? So Allah has opened the hujjah against himself. If this was really something that he was interested in pushing or interested in imposing on the ummah, then it rationally does not make sense that he would leave it to corrupt sectarian hadith sources to clarify something so important. With regard to the traditional claim that no, the wilayah and imamah is something that was announced at the very end. Even if it was announced at the very end, this is basic publishing practice. You will have heard, even if you recall the president of the World Federation, in one of his recent speeches, he was talking about how they decided to bring out a journal. And at the very last moment, they realized, after it had already been, I think, printed, they realized there was a mistake in it. And so in the middle of the night, they called someone in Canada, and they basically got a whole process in place to correct that small mistake. And anyone who's familiar with publishing would know that until the last moment, we keep sending corrections to the publisher. I know the publishers are not very happy when that happens, but yeah, any very critical update, as in if I'm publishing a book and all of a sudden something really important happens in that field, I'm gonna at least try to request the publisher to put the book on hold while I update the research. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had such a last minute update, he would have found a way to bring it into the Quran. He would not leave it to a corrupt hadith corpus that he himself knows is going to be nuked by the very imams that it claims to represent. Imam Ridha alayhi salam nuked the whole hadith corpus of the Imamiyah by saying that the ghulat have inserted so much kufr and zandaqa, yani blasphemy and heresy and anti-Islamic, anti-Quranic teachings into this corpus, that now I am ordering you and I am appealing to you in the name of Allah, if you fear him, do not accept anything in this corpus except what you can find clear, explicit verification from in the Quran or in the established, undisputed Sunnah which the entire Muslim Ummah has transmitted. So any unique claim that is there in this corpus, unless you can find external corroboration from the Quran and the Sunnah, it is worthless. Don't accept it and throw it away. So this is also something that needs to be factored in. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is irrational and it would be unjust for him to leave something so important, because the traditional claim and even the claim in the fabricated portions of the corpus is that al-wilaya walam yunada bi shay'in mithla ma nudiya aw kama nudiya bil wilaya. There is no teaching of Islam that was emphasized as much as or like al-wilaya. So if that was really the case, then why the stepmotherly treatment? Why was it not included in the Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have revealed a last minute update. He did not. And in fact, as you will see, inshallah, in this lecture, we will show you how this idea actually developed and how the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam rejected it in the most clear and categorical, emphatic terms possible. But yeah, the questioner is saying, and again, he has sent us clips, which Al-Islaah admins can play if they want to. But yeah, he's basically complaining about how the speakers on the pulpit, they gaslight the public, and they try to, they use scare tactics, and they try to impose on the public this idea that if you don't believe in this traditional sectarian belief, then your salvation is at stake. In fact, your salvation is over, and you basically die a death of hypocrisy and disbelief, and you die a death of kufr and nifaq, and you die a death of jahiliyyah.
He says, I can't think for a second that I would leave this world having denied the existence of the Imam of my time. Man mata la ya'rifu imama zamanihi mata mitatan jahiliyyah. Imam al-Sadiq says, mitata kufrin wa nifaq. A death of disbelief and hypocrisy. Especially when it comes to jahd, denial, outright rejection.
So basically, as far as this hadith of man mata wa lam ya'rif imama zamanihi mata mitatan jahiliyyah is concerned, that whosoever dies without knowing the Imam of his time, he dies a death of ignorance and jahiliyyah, or he dies a death of disbelief, kufr and nifaq, hypocrisy. If you go into the sources shed very useful light. Both Shia and Sunni sources have documented. Islamic sources are extremely rich, and they, where something is, as far as historical realities are concerned, they have this amazing tendency to corroborate and substantiate each other. The Shia and Sunni sources, they work in tandem to convey to you the same truths, the same realities, interestingly. Even though both sects are opposed to each other, there are certain truths that both have had to preserve. And this is basically a fadl and a grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has preserved such critical and crucial evidence in the sources of both sects, so that people on both sides should be alert, and they should protect themselves from lies and falsehood and fabrications that have been invented in the names of the Imams. Wal-'iyadhu billah. So as far as the hadith of man mata is concerned, the first step one, as we mentioned, we have a detailed lecture. In that lecture, we just gave verbal references. This time, inshallah, I will open the books and actually show you exactly what I was referring to in that previous lecture. But basically, starting from the Quran, does the Quran give you, whenever any hadith is attributed to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, you have to check it against the Quran. Does the Quran give you any sense, any idea whatsoever, that after the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are entities in whom you are supposed to have Iman the same way you are supposed to have Iman in the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Even if you look at the verse, Surah 4, verse 59, the ayah of Ulil Amr, it doesn't say you have to believe in the Ulil Amr. It simply says you have to obey the Ulil Amr. Why? Because Ulil Amr are basically political, military, administrative leaders that are being appointed by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you have to obey them, but believing in them is not an article of faith. That's why in the same Surah An-Nisa, this is verse 59, verse 36 was revealed after verse 59, right? In verse 136, when Allah again mentions the belief system, articles of faith, what does He say? He says, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَقَدْ ضَلَّ ضَلَالًا بَعِيدًا. Whosoever rejects belief in Allah and His angels and the messengers and the scriptures and the last and final day of judgment, he has gone very far astray. Notice how there is no mention of Ulil Amr here. Even though the same surah, verse 59, was saying, wa ulil amri minkum, and you have to do ita'a and obey the Ulil Amr. But Ulil Amr are just ordinary people that the Holy Prophet is appointing to different positions of power and authority to run his government. So obviously believing in them and in believing in their person is not a part of our faith. Obeying them is just a necessity that's necessitated by there being an Islamic government and system in place, which would not function if you were not to obey them. If everyone were to resort to civil disobedience, the whole system would collapse. So that's why the proof that Ulil Amr and believing in them is not part of the belief system is in the same surah which has the ayah of Ulil Amr. Surah 4, verse 59 says you have to obey the Ulil Amr. Surah 4, verse 136, Allah repeats the belief system, and Ulul Amr have no place in it. The belief system, as far as people you have to believe in, it ends at وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ. Allah only mentions messengers as an article of faith. Other than messengers, You don't have to believe in any human being, according to the list, the finalized list of Allah in the Quran. So naturally, when in the hadith corpus you come across reports, narrations, a hadith that try to mess with this sealed belief system that Allah is giving in the Quran, and they try to introduce and add stuff, naturally that should make you suspicious. If you're a critical minded person, if you take the Quran seriously, then naturally that makes you suspicious. So that suspicion should then lead you to research. Where exactly is this idea coming from? And when you go deep enough into our sources, into the Islamic sources, you will see on both sides, on the Shia side, on the Sunni side, you will discover evidence of what exactly happened. So the first evidence I want to showcase before you is from this book here, Kitab al-Tabaqat al-Kabir, by Muhammad ibn Sa'd ibn Mani' al-Zuhri, who died in the year 230 AH. So you can see this is a very early source. So here you are being told in this book, this is volume 7, Al-Juz al-Sabi' fi Ahli al-Madinati min al-Tabi'in. This is the volume that is dedicated to the people of Medina. It's very important to understand what the beliefs of the people of Medina were and what the beliefs of the people of Kufa were, because a lot of these ghulu-based doctrines did not develop in Medina. They developed in Kufa. So if you come to page 319, we have this very important critical narration here, where Al-Fudayl ibn Marzuq says, سألت عمر بن علي وحسين بن علي عمي جعفر. I asked Umar bin Ali bin al-Husayn Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, the son of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, and Husayn bin Ali, this is also the son of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, and he clarifies, he says Ammay Ja'far, these are the uncles of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. So you can see these are two brothers who are the sons of an Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. They are the brothers of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. They are the uncles of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. They are hardcore Ahlul Bayt. And so within the family of the Prophet, this question is being asked to these two uncles and of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam and sons of Imam Zain al-Abidin. هل فيكم أهل البيت إنسان مفترضة طاعته تعرفون له ذلك ومن لم يعرف له ذلك فمات مات ميتة جاهلية. So you can see already in the time of the sons of the fourth Imam, this hadith had already been invented. It was actually invented by the Banu Umayyah, because the Banu Umayyah were not, they had a crisis of authority and legitimacy. Many of their caliphs, because they were so morally degenerate, the Muslim Ummah was not wholeheartedly accepting them. And sometimes people used to have reluctance in giving bay'ah to them. So they had a hadith manufacturing factory. They asked it to invent a hadith to scare people into giving bay'ah. So if that's why in the Sunni sources you go to see this hadith, the Sunni versions, mostly they make it clear that whosoever dies without having bay'ah of a political ruler or caliph on their neck, then such a person dies a death of jahiliyyah. But there are different versions of this hadith. And so you can see later on, the ghulat, they took this Umayyad fabrication and they tried to use it in their favor. So the ghulat, remember, were trying to claim prophethood for the Imams. Well, some of them were trying to claim divinity. Some of them were trying to claim prophethood. And after the prophethood project failed, if you recall the debate between Abdullah bin Abi Ya'fur and Al-Mu'alla bin Qunais, after that project failed, they said, okay, let's remove the name prophethood, but basically the ghulat were very, they did not like the belief of people such as Abdullah bin Abi Ya'fur, who are saying that Imams are merely pious scholars. They're like, this is a very low imamology. And if you just introduce Imams as ulama abrar, as pious scholars to the Muslim Ummah is not going to feel obligated to follow them. Because they're going to say, okay, they are pious scholars. We have other pious scholars. We have a Shafi'i and Abu Hanifa and Malik. We can also follow them. So the ghulat wanted to arm twist and say, no, you don't have a choice. You must believe in them the way you believe in messengers. Just as with the Prophet ﷺ, you can't say that I'm going to follow someone else, some other contemporary from his lifetime. But now with the Prophet, Allah sealed the deal in the Quran. The Ghulat were angry and upset that why Allah sealed the deal for the Prophet, He didn't seal the deal for the Imams, so we will seal the deal for the Imams. We will take fabricated ahadith of Banu Umayyah and apply them on the Imams and tell the people, if you don't believe and have ma'rifah of the Imam and you don't submit to him, then you die a death of Jahiliyyah. But they got busted and they got exposed when they came to the Ahlul Bayt in Medina. So you see, there are people in Kufa who are making this claim, and that's why Fudail bin Mazruq asks these two sons of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, especially Hussein bin Ali and Umar bin Ali, they are really righteous and pious individuals. They are highly revered in both Shia and Sunni sources. If you look at the books of Rijal, you will see Umar bin Ali bin al-Hussein and Hussein bin Ali bin al-Hussein. Especially Hussein bin Ali bin al-Hussein, he's actually named after his grandfather, Imam al-Hussein, and like him, his kunya is Abu Abdullah. So he's also called Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And he is the ancestor and the grandfather, the great-grandfather of all the Husseini Sayyids. You will have heard many of the Sayyids will put Husseini in their name, including, for example, Grand Ayatollah al-Uzma Sayyid Ali al-Husseini al-Sistani, for example, or Ayatollah Sayyid Ali al-Khamenei, or Ayatollah Sayyid Ali al-Husseini al-Milani. All these Ayatollahs who add Husseini, people think Husseini means they are descendants of Imam Hussein, the Imam Hussein who was martyred in Karbala. No. All of us Sadat who are Kadhimi or Radawi, Musawi, Taqawi, Naqawi, all of them are Husseinis. Okay, it's only the Hassanis who are, you can say they're not Husseinis in that sense. But all these Husaini Sadat, they're actually called Husseinis, and they refer to themselves as Husseini because they are descendants of Imam Ali bin Hussein from his son Hussein bin Ali al-Hussein. This son is known as Hussein al-Asghar. Okay, so Hussein al-Asghar bin Ali al-Hussein alayhi salam is asked, together with his brother Umar, هل فيكم أهل البيت إنسان مفترضة طاعته تعرفون له ذلك? Is there among your family, is there among you, the Ahlul Bayt, any human being whose ta'ah, whose obedience is muftarada, it has been made obligatory by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is binding and compulsory on the entire ummah. تَعْرِفُونَ لَهُ ذَلِكَ, such that you know this to be true about that person. Is there such a person from your family? So now imagine Hussein bin Ali bin Hussein and Umar bin Ali bin Hussein. These are the closest blood relatives to Imam Zainul Abidin, to Imam al-Baqir, to Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And they are being asked this question, that within your family, is there any individual whose obedience is obligatory, and you know this to be true about them, such that وَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْرِفْ لَهُ ذَلِكَ, whosoever does not believe and know this about them, that their obedience is obligatory, فَمَاتَ, and then dies, مَاتَ مِيتَةً جَاهِلِيَّةً, he dies a death of ignorance. So already you can see this hadith that is being shared today from the pulpit. It is already in circulation by the time Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam's sons have reached adulthood. So look at the response of the sons of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. Al-Hussein bin Ali alayhi salam and Umar bin Ali bin al-Hussein alayhi salam. He says, فَقَالَ, they both of the sons of Imam Zainul Abidin responded by saying, لَا وَاللَّهِ مَا هَذَا فِينَا. They said, no, we swear by Allah, there is no such thing in our family. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not instituted any such institution within our family. مَنْ قَالَ هَذَا فِينَا فَهُوَ كَذَّابٌ. Whosoever makes such a claim about us, the Ahlul Bayt, is a kadhab, is a serial liar. قال فقلت لعمر بن علي. So Fudail bin Marzuq says, I said to Umar bin Ali, رحمك الله, may Allah have mercy on you, إن هذه منزلة تزعمون أنها كانت لعلي إن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله أوصى إليه ثم كانت للحسن إن عليا أوصى إليه ثم كانت للحسين إن الحسن أوصى إليه ثم كانت لعلي بن الحسين إن الحسين أوصى إليه ثم كانت لمحمد بن علي إن عليا أوصى إليه. Basically, he describes to him the belief that was being developed in Kufa by the Ghulat of the Kufa, that there is this claim that is being made, that you people claim, you the Ahlul Bayt claim, that there was this station of obligatory obedience was actually, it belonged to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam basically designated him as his successor, and then it was for Al-Hasan, and Imam Ali designated him, then it was for Hussein, and Al-Hasan designated him, then it was for Ali bin Al-Hussein, and Al-Hussein designated to him, and then it was for Muhammad bin Ali Al-Baqir, and that Imam Zainul Abidin designated him. فَقَالَ, so he responded, the son of Imam Zainul Abidin, these are the core Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt adra bima fil bayt. The Ahlul Bayt, the people of the house, the family, know best what's happening inside the house. So he replies, Wallah lamata abi fama awsa biharfain. He says, I swear by Allah, our father died right in front of us. We did not see him designate anyone. We did not see him even say 2 words in designating anyone. Qatalahumullah, may Allah kill them. Wallahi in ha'ula'i illa muta'akkiluna bina. He said, I swear by Allah, these people in Kufa who are making the claim about us of all this designation, divine appointment, this, all of these people will tell you what their motive is. In ha'ula'i illa muta'akkiluna bina. These people are nothing except people who want to muta'akkiluna, they want to eat in our name. Yani they want to make money in our name. So do you understand the financial motive of the Ghulat? Once you study what is happening, this is in Medina. Once you go to Kufa, the sources in Kufa will clearly show you how Kufa, ever since the time Imam Ali alayhi salam made it the headquarters of his Khilafah, and he lived there for all those years, more than 4 years, Kufa became a hub of tashayyu' and love and support for the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But now the Ahlul Bayt, after Imam Ali alayhi salam was martyred, they returned to Medina. And so that support base was left in Kufa, and they were very unhappy with Umayyad rule. And they were always hoping for the opportunity to come whereby the Umayyad rule would be ended and they would get to be under the leadership of the Ahlul Bayt. But now, because the Umayyads around this time were very much in power, and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt themselves are in Medina, there were people within Kufa who got the opportunity to come to Medina and study under the Imam. Some of the people who came to study under the Imam, when they went back to Kufa and they saw how deeply devoted people were to the Imams, they realized they could make a lot of money. They could clearly see that there was a very lucrative opportunity in front of them. Okay. It's just like if you go to any city where you have fans of a celebrity, for example. If you go to the people in that city and say, I've actually met that celebrity, I have special access to that celebrity, and I'm a special student of that celebrity, people are going to surround you. And they're going to start giving you a lot of importance. And then by developing false claims and false doctrines in the name of that celebrity, you can start earning a lot of money. And this is what the Ghulat started doing. So some of the Ghulats, they saw the best way to make money is, let's declare these Imams to be God, and then we declare ourselves to be the Bab. We are the gateway we are basically the messengers of the God. This is what some foolish Ghulat did. Others Ghulat were more smart. They tried to bring it down a little bit. They said, no, they are prophets and we are the messengers of those prophets. Others said, no, bring it further down. Messengers, if you say, the Imams refute. Remember the debate between Mu'alla bin Khunais and Abdullah bin Abi Afur? Imam refuted Mu'alla bin Khunais. So they said, okay, let's not say they're prophets, but we have to have a high imamology. If you want to make money, you have to upgrade the status, because if you're simply the representative of a pious scholar, you can't make that much money. Although, I'm talking about the Umayyad period, in that early primitive period. Today, things have changed. Today, representatives of scholars are also in a position to significantly benefit from that. But in the time of the Banu Umayyah and the Banu al-Abbas, many of these former students who studied under the Imams, they saw an opportunity. They said, okay, if we boost and upgrade the status of the Imam, we give him divine authority. And then the aim in giving them divine authority was always to say that after you accept them as the divine authority, you have to accept me as his representative. And then submit money to me, submit funds. I'm collecting funds in his name. And those funds would then be eaten up by that agent. Our books are full of this, Maulana. And this went until the time, I will show you evidence, inshallah ta'ala, in a moment. I'll show you until the time of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, this is happening. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam has to say, these ghulat are eating money in our name. I'll show you in that, inshallah. But first, let's finish this riwayah. So, qatalahumullah, may Allah kill them. Wallahi in ha'ula'i illa muta'akkiluna bina. These people are only interested in eating and making money in our name. And then he goes on to say, this son of Imam Zainul Abidin, he says, هذا خنيس الخر. ما خنيس الخر. He said that this khunais, this filthy character called khunais. And what would you know about this filthy khunais? قال قلت الخر actually refers to excrement. Yani this low-life scumbag was such an evil and wretched person that the Ahlul Bayt referred to him as excrement, basically, as a really filthy individual. Yeah, because he's the one behind this whole idea of applying mata mitatan jahiliya and using these scare tactics to bully the people of Kufa into submitting funds. This is all the doing of Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais. So when he said Khunais al-Khar or Khunais al-Khur, Fudayl says, I said to him, Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais, are you referring to Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais? So he said, Na'am Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais. He says, yes, I'm talking about Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais. Wallahi la fakkartu ala firashi tawilan. He said, Wallah, I have spent a long time on my bed. Lying on my bed, I think about this filthy scumbag, this low life called Mu'alla bin Khunais, this Ghali. أتعجب من قوم لبس الله عقولهم حين أضلهم المعلى بن خنيس. I lie on my bed and I think long and hard, and I am amazed at the foolishness of people whose intellects were deprived of rectitude by Allah to the point that a low-life scumbag like Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais was able to mislead them and misguide them. Yani he went to the people of Kufa and he is the one who introduced this concept that no, there are you. First, if you recall the debate that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam had with the debate that happened in the presence or in the time of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam between Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais and between Abdullah bin Abi Ya'fur. This is from Al-Mu'tabar min Bihar al-Anwar. This is a collection of authentic narrations from Bihar al-Anwar, page 408, authenticated by Ayatollah Muhsini. You see this narration here? تذاكر ابن أبي يعفور ومعلى بن خنيس. There was this debate between Ibn Abi Ya'fur and Mu'alla bin Khunais. Ibn Abi Ya'fur said, Al-Awsiya'u ulama'u abrar. The successors of the Prophet from his line, his descendants, are basically ulama abrar. They are righteous, pious scholars, atqiya. They are God-fearing ulama, scholars. But Mu'alla bin Khunais, this low-life ghali scumbag, what did he want to say? Al-Awsiya'u anbiya. He said, no, the Imams are prophets. And they entered upon Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, they entered in his presence. And Abu Abdullah alayhi salam said, Ya Abdullah, abra'u mimman qala anna anbiya, or inna anbiya. Or Abdullah, I disassociate myself from those who say that we are anbiya. So Al-Mu'alla bin Khunais, you can see this Ghali, he was always up to these dirty tactics. And he was always about corrupting the deen. First, he claimed that that Imams are prophets. Why? Because already his motive, when he studied for some time under Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, but when he went to Kufa, he realized that there was a lot more money to be made by claiming that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is a prophet than there is to be made by simply saying he's among the ulama abrar, he's just a pious, righteous scholar within the Muslim ummah. And so that's why he tried to claim prophethood. When that failed, he then came up with this theory that, okay, even if he's not a prophet, still, whosoever does not know the Imam of his time and he dies the death of Jahiliyyah. But when this hadith was taken to the Ahlul Bayt, to the immediate family, Hussein bin Ali bin al-Hussein, Umar bin Ali bin al-Hussein, they say there is no such teaching that has been taught within our house. Yani if Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam had been teaching this hadith, obviously the first people to know about it would be his own sons, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum naran waquduha an-nas wal hijara. O you who believe, protect yourselves and your family from the fire of hell. So is it conceivable, is it possible that Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam would teach distant people in Kufa the doctrine and the hadith that if you don't believe in the Imam of your time, you die a death of Jahiliyyah? But when it comes to his own sons, he doesn't teach them, to the point that when they are being asked about this hadith, they are saying, Ya akhi, whosoever claims about this about us is a kadhab, is a liar. There is no such teaching being taught in our house. This is all lies that are being weaved by the people of Kufa because they want to make money in our name. By giving a divine station to us, they want to appoint themselves as representatives and then collect funds in our name and deceive and dupe people in this manner. And unfortunately, to this very day, the people who are promoting these kinds of deviant sectarian doctrines, even their motives are far from noble. A lot of the times, financial and pecuniary considerations are found in their activities as well, and in their mindset as well. They also, a lot of these people who preach high imamology from the mimbar, a lot of them are doing this as part of their money-making operations, because they realize there's a lot more money to be made by peddling and selling ghulu than there is to be made if you actually promote the actual teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam. Now, for someone who would say that, well, okay, but this is Umar bin Ali bin al-Hussein and Hussein bin Ali bin al-Hussein, a traditional 12-hour imami might say, well, as far as I'm concerned, these are not exactly imams. These are not imams whom I follow, which is not a problem. As I said, the evidence for this is so abundant, it has been stored in numerous sources. So this is Mu'jam al-Ahadith al-Mu'tabara. This is the encyclopedia of authentic narrations collected by Ayatollah al-Sheikh Muhammad Asif Muhsini. Okay, Ayatollah al-Sheikh Muhammad Asif Muhsini. And this is volume 2. If you come to page 69, you have now narration from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. From Al-Kafi, he authenticates the sanad of this narration from Sa'id al-Samman. كنت عند أبي عبد الله عليه السلام إذ دخل عليه رجلان من الزيدية. I was in the presence of Imam Abu Abdullah alayhi salam when two men from among the Zaydiyah, remember Zaydiyah are pro-Alid Shia. They are not agents of Banu Umayyah or Banu al-Abbas. In fact, the Zaydis were at the forefront of trying to overthrow the Banu Umayyah and Banu al-Abbas whenever a revolution was led against any of their rulers. So these are not exactly the kind of people an Imam of Ahlul Bayt would be in any need of doing any kind of taqiyya or any kind of dissimulation with. So, and in fact, if this was really a divine designation and a divine mandate, then aslan, even if a kafir comes, just as the Holy Prophet ﷺ declared his risala to the kuffar in Makkah, then aslan, when it comes to divine mandates, taqiyya is not permissible. A divinely appointed figure is not allowed to deny it to friend or foe. So in any case, Sa'id al-Samman came to Imam Abu Abdullah as-Sadiq alayhi salam, and he said that two Zaydi men entered his presence, and they said, "Fikum imamun muftaradu ta'ah." They asked Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam point blank, because you see, this claim was being made in Kufa, as you saw. They entered the presence of, Fudayl bin Marzuq says, I went to the uncles of Imam Ja'far. Now you have Zaydi Shi'as who have come to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam himself. And they ask him point blank, Fikum imamun muftaradu ta'ah. Is there among you, the Ahlul Bayt, an Imam whose obedience is obligatory, that has been made binding on the Ummah and compulsory by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Qala. So Sa'id al-Samman narrates, he says, Faqala. The Imam alayhi salam responded by saying, La. He said, no. Simple answer. Is there an Imam muftaradu ta'ah? Imam says, no, there is no. Aslan, this is not the claim of the Ahlul Bayt. فَقَالَا لَهُ. So the two Zaydi men said to him, قَدْ أَخْبَرَنَا عَنْكَ الثِّقَاتِ. He said the issue is there are trustworthy people in Kufa who are telling us that you are claiming this station. You're claiming that you are Imams whose obedience has been made mandatory and compulsory on the entire Ummah by Allah. And the people who are claiming this in Kufa are people who outwardly look very sincere, pious, righteous, trustworthy people. And they are claiming that they are your companions, they have studied under you, and they are saying أَنَّكَ تُفْتِي وَتُقِرُّ وَتَقُولُ بِهِ, that you are giving fatwa and that you endorse this idea and that you believe in it. وَنُسَمِّيهِمْ لَكَ, and we can also name them for you if you want, fulan wa fulan, and they started rolling out names, that these so and so and so and so, they are claiming this about you. وَهُمْ أَصْحَابُ وَرْعٍ وَتَشْمِيرٍ, and they are people of piety. Outwardly, they look like pious people. So we are inclined to believe them. وَهُمْ مِمَّنْ لَا يَكْذِبْ, and they are not known to be liars. فَغَضِبَ أَبُو عَبْدِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ, so Imam Abu Abdullah alayhi salam became angry and upset. فَقَالَ مَا أَمَرْتُهُمْ بِهَذَا, he said, look, I don't care how pious or how noble or how whatever they are. مَا أَمَرْتُهُمْ بِهَذَا, I have not ordered them or commanded them with any such thing. I have not imparted any such teaching to them. If they are claiming this in my name, then they are liars. فَلَمَّا رَأَيَا الْغَضَبَ فِي وَجْهِهِ خَرَجَ, when they saw how upset and how angry he was, they left. And then after they leave, the narration continues with the Imam telling Sa'id al-Samman, أَتَعْرِفُ هَذَيْنِ, do you know these two people? And then Sa'id al-Samman says, yes, these are from our marketplace and they are from the Zaydiyya, and they claim that the sword of Rasulullah is to be found with Abdullah bin al-Hasan. And then basically it's a long narration. It goes on to talk about the armaments of the Prophet. And Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam describing the armaments and the sign of the armaments. And basically traditional polemicists will try to claim the armament argument and say that, well, the fact that the armaments were to be found in the possession of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam is proof that somehow he's a divinely appointed Imam, because these armaments of the Prophet are the sign of divine Imamah. Although this is a completely ahistorical and fabricated claim in itself, as can be seen from the fact that after Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, when there was a crisis and the Shia did not know who the Imam was, they went and started interviewing the sons of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Yeah, they took an interview of Abdullah bin al-Afbah. They didn't say to al-Afbah, show us the armaments of Rasulullah. If the idea was that the armaments of Rasulullah are the sign of divine Imamah, they would not need to ask him nitty-gritty, deep questions about zakat. They could simply say, bring out the armaments. If you are the Imam, bring out the armaments. And he would not have them, so they would find out that he's not the Imam. Or when they would go to Imam al-Kadhim, later on, in the Riwayah and al-Kafi, you see they go to Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, right? And but how do they find out that he's the Imam? By testing him on zakat. And not on zakat, but on many other questions. So Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam, they never asked him, show us the armaments of the Prophet. So aslan, these armaments this was an invented theory that any person who is in possession of the divine of the armaments is the divine Imam. But khair, the point here is that here you have a narration in which Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is clearly asked about this and he denies it. And in fact, the same narration is mentioned in Rijal al-Kashi. This is Rijal al-Kashi Mu'assasatul A'lami edition. Okay, page 305. You will see here the Imam is very clear in saying that Ma amartuhum bidhalik, I did not order them to make any such claims in my name. Wala qultu lahum, and I have not said any such thing to them, that there is among us Ahlul Bayt and Imam who, if you don't believe in him, you die a death of Jahiliyyah or Kufr or Nifaq or any such thing. La qultu lahum. The Imam says, I did not say any such thing. Nor did I say that they should say this in my name. Fama dhambi. So what is my sin? If these people are lying against me, and so what? Pious people, any person who looks pious outwardly, he's not ma'soom. Many of these students initially may have been righteous, pious people with good reputations. But when they went to Kufa and they saw that there was a lot of money to be made by claiming higher imamology and by claiming divine mandate for the imams, then naturally they fell for it. And they fell into temptation. But the important thing is that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt disassociated themselves and distanced themselves from these kinds of claims. Similarly, this is again Al-Mu'tabar min Bihar al-Anwar. This is volume 2, page 45. Again, these are narrations authenticated by Ayatollah Shaykh Muhammad Asif Muhsini. It was said to Mu'min al-Taq, he was asked to describe the discussion or debate that happened between him and Imam Zayd bin Ali in the presence of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. So he said that Zayd bin Ali said, Ya Muhammad ibn Ali. He said to Sahib al-Taq, his name was Muhammad bin Ali. He said, بلغني أنك تزعم أن في آل محمد إماما مفترض الطاعة. Imam Zayd alayhi salam says to Sahib al-Taq, okay, he says, it has reached me that you claim that among the Ali Muhammad there is an Imam whose obedience is obligatory on the Ummah. It has been made obligatory by Allah, basically divine Imamah. قال قلت نعم. So as far as Sahib al-Taq is concerned, he says, Naam, yes, I claim this. So you can see, the people who actually invented the doctrine, they don't do taqiyya about it. When the Imam Zayd asks him, you see, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, when the Zaydi asks him about this, he denies it. But when Imam Zayd asks Sahib al-Taq that, do you make this claim? And this is in the presence of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Sahib al-Taq says, yes, I do claim this. And I say, وَكَانَ أَبُوكَ عَلِيُّ بْنُ الْحُسَيْنِ أَحَدَهُمْ. I say that your father, Ali ibn al-Husayn, was one of them. فَقَالَ وَكَيْفَ وَقَدْ كَانَ يُؤْتَى بِلُقْمَةٍ وَهِيَ حَارَّةٌ فَيُبَرِّدُهَا بِيَدِهِ ثُمَّ يُلْقِمُنِيهَا أَوْ يُلَقِّمُنِيهَا أَفَتُرَى أَنَّهُ كَانَ يُشْفِقُ عَلَيَّ مِنْ حَرِّ اللُّقْمَةِ وَلَا يُشْفِقُ عَلَيَّ مِنْ حَرِّ النَّارِ. He says, if my father, Imam Zayd alayhi salam responds by saying, how can my father have such a station? How can my father have been an Imam whose obedience is obligatory on the Ummah? And how could he have hidden this from me? When the reality is that he used to be, when a hot meal used to be brought in front of him and he used to feed me as a child, and the morsel used to be really hot, he would first make sure that he would cool it off with his hands, and then he would put it in my mouth. Can you imagine that he was so careful and he was so compassionate and merciful on me that he could not bear the thought of my tongue or my mouth being burned by a small hot morsel? So he could not tolerate to see my mouth being burned by a morsel. You think he would be able to tolerate my entire body being burned from the fire of hell? Because this doctrine of divine Imamah that you are talking about and that you are claiming the Imam taught you, how come me, his son, he did not teach me? Despite the fact that he used to love me so much, that he used to feed me food with his own hands when I was a little kid. And he used to go out of the way to cool off the hot morsels just to ensure that I don't get burnt. So for my little mouth, he cared so much that he couldn't bear the thought of a hot morsel going in and burning my tongue. But the whole body of mine, which he should have known would burn in hell if I did not accept him as the Imam of the time, and if I did not submit to his authority, and if I did not regard his obedience as being wajib, I would obviously die a death of Jahiliyyah and Kufr and Nifaq and be thrown in hell, according to your claim, Sahib al-Taq, right? How is it possible that my father was so reckless, wal-'iyadhu billah, and irresponsible and careless, that he taught distant money changers like you in Kufa this essential article of faith, this new article of faith that's not there in the Quran, but somehow, the Imams are getting it from Allah and from the Prophet, and they're teaching it to distant money changers in Kufa. But we, the close family members, the blood, biological sons, they're not teaching this to us. Is this ma'qul when Allah in the Quran says what? That when it comes to the matter of the fire of hell, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. O you who believe, protect yourself, save yourselves and your family members first from the fire of hell. So Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, by not teaching divine Imamah theory to his son, he was saving him from the fire of hell, or he was pushing him towards the fire of hell. This is what Imam Zayd alayhi salam, the son of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, is unable to understand. He says, I just cannot digest this. So look at the silly, nonsensical answer that Sahib al-Taq gives. He says, you know why your father did not teach you divine Imamah and he taught it to us? كَرِهَ أَن يُخْبِرَكَ فَتَكْفُرْ. He disliked to tell you, he disliked, and he did not want to tell you about divine imamah because he was fearful that he will inform you of it and you will do kufr. You will reject it. Imam Zayd alayhi salam, look at all his biographies and look at all the entries of Rijal, even in the 12 Imami books of Rijal, Sayyid al-Quy, and everyone says he is of the highest level of taqwa. Someone who's when low-level people of taqwa, 1400 years later, have believed in the divine imamah because they have narrations, which they never themselves heard, but they have seen them in books. Based on narrations in books, they are believing in divine imamah. But the son of Imam Zayd, when Imam Zain al-Abidin tells him himself, he would not believe. This is the theory of Sahib al-Taq, that Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam did not teach you divine imamah because he feared that you would reject it. Ya akhi, Imam Zayd alayhi salam is the transmitter of an entire musnad. Okay, he's the author of an entire musnad, which is full of narrations, which he narrates from Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. Everything that Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam taught him, Imam Zayd transmitted smoothly. So what was so wrong about divine imamah that if Imam Zayn al-Abidin would teach him, he would say, no, this father I cannot accept from you. Does it make sense to you? That he would transmit so much of the deen, but this doctrine he would not transmit. As in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he announced his divine appointment to Imam Ali alayhi salam, to Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha, to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, did any one of them reject? No. So why would Imam Zayd reject? Especially when he was such a pious person. Basically, Sahib al-Taq here knew he had no answer, and that's why he gave us a silly, nonsensical answer. He said that no, he didn't tell you about divine imamah because he was afraid that if he informed you, you would deny it. وَلَا يَكُونُ لَهُ فِيكَ الشَّفَاعَةِ, and then he would not get to do shafa'ah for you. وَلَا فِيكَ الْمَشِيئَةِ, and there would be no scope for mashiyah. And then Sahib al-Taq claims that Imam Abu Abdullah alayhi salam said to him, أَخَذْتَهُ مِنْ بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ فَمَا تَرَكْتَ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا, that you took, you basically took him from in front and from behind, and you left no escape route or you left no exit for him. So this is Sahib al-Taq claiming that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam apparently somehow praised his argument somehow and gave him shabashi, that you made a good argument, although it is impossible that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam would have endorsed such a nonsensical argument. But because Sahib al-Taq is the one narrating it, obviously he finds it necessary to narrate self-praise and to vindicate himself and to somehow show that he believed in this idea. Although from independent narrations in Rijal al-Kashi itself, we have evidence of how Imam Sadiq alayhi salam disassociated himself from Sahib al-Taq and how he distanced himself, how he actually told Sahib al-Taq that stop making these arguments that you're going too far. And Sahib al-Taq refused to accept the order of the Imam. So this was the hypocrisy of these people, is that they themselves invented this doctrine of divine imamah and that their obedience was obligatory. But when the Imam asks him to stop debating and stop making these tall ghulu-based claims about him, he says, yeah, in this matter I can't obey you, because I'm just too fond of arguing and debating. So yeah, these were not sincere people, and unfortunately they ended up fooling a lot of people in Kufa and creating this whole movement. And this is how, unfortunately. Now, for those people who try to argue that this is some kind of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, as you can see in both Rijal al-Kashi and in al-Kafi, both of which are Shia sources, you can see they are confirming, both the narrations are confirming what this narration from Imam Hussein bin Ali bin al-Hussein and Umar bin Ali bin al-Hussein, this narration is being confirmed in Shia sources by Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Now, the standard argument to overrule what Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is saying here is the taqiyya argument. But you see, the whole issue is that if you employ the taqiyya argument, then the taqiyya card, you must remember, is a very dangerous card. In fact, Sulaiman ibn Jarir, it was an early Shia who remarked when he saw these Imamiyya using taqiyya card, abusing the taqiyya card, and also the bada card, he actually remarked, he said these Imamiyya, and especially the extremists among them, they have two weapons or two tricks up their sleeve because of which their doctrine is unfalsifiable. Basically, you cannot falsify it, which is not a good thing. If your claim is true, it should be falsifiable. You should be able to delineate the circumstances under which you yourself would be prepared to accept that it is false. Right? So, any claim that you make has to pass the falsifiability test. But the Imami claims, they do not pass the falsifiability test, because Sulaiman bin Jarir says that whatever argument you bring them against the Imamiyah, so for example, Imamiyah claim that Imam is muftarad al-ta'a and his ma'rifah is wajib. If you die without it, you die death of jahiliyyah. Okay, so we go to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. We ask them, is this really your teaching and the teaching of your grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? They deny it. And once they deny it, this whole creed is invalidated. But do the Imamiyah accept the traditional ghulu influenced Imamiyah? Do they accept this? They say, no. They don't accept it. Why? They say the Imam was doing taqiyya. So Sulaiman bin Jarir said that these Imamiyah, they have developed two arguments, because of which they can keep on shifting the goalposts perpetually to the point that no amount of evidence you present would ever be convincing for them. Because whatever you do, you bring any statement from Allah, from the Messenger, you bring the statement from the Imam for whose wilayah and Imamah they are claiming. Even if you bring a statement from that Imam, they will just overrule it by saying, oh, the Imam just said it in taqiyya. And so basically, once you accept this dangerous doctrine of taqiyya, then you also cannot deny, you don't have means to, then the ghulat who actually invented the doctrine of taqiyya, then they can get away with all their claims, because then what objective standard do you have through which you will reject the claims of the ghulat? For example, let me show you what the ghulat were, some of the ghulat were actually claiming. This is Rijal al-Kashi. This is the edition of, that is edited by Sayyid Mahdi al-Raja'i, page 488, and it's volume 2, Abu Harun al-Makfuf. In the entry on Abu Harun al-Makfuf, you will see it's mentioned, قلت لأبي عبد الله عليه السلام زعم أبو هارون المكفوف أنك قلت له إن كنت تريد القديمة. Okay. He says, I said to Abu Abdullah alayhi salam that Abu Harun al-Makfuf claims that you, Imam Sadiq, have taught him that if you want the eternal being, then that is the one whom no one can fathom, no one can understand or comprehend him. But وَإِن كُنْتَ تُرِيدُ الَّذِي خَلَقَ وَرَزَقَ. But if you want to know who is the one who creates and who sustains this universe, فَذَاكَ Muhammad ibn Ali. Then that is Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhi salam, yani my father. So a companion is informing Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that this Ghali, Abu Harun al-Makfuf, is making this claim about you, that you have said that your father, Imam al-Baqir, is the one who created the universe and who is sustaining everyone, who is giving rizq to everyone. So Imam Sadiq responded by saying, كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ عَلَيْهِ لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ. He lied against me, may the la'na of Allah be upon him. Wallah, I swear by Allah, مَا مِنْ خَالِقٍ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. I swear by Allah, there is no creator except Allah, the one and the only, He has no partners. حَقَّ عَلَى اللَّهِ أو حُقَّ عَلَى اللَّهِ أَن يُذِيقَنَا الْمَوْتِ. It is right for Allah to make us taste death. وَالَّذِي لَا يَهْلِكُ هُوَ اللَّهُ خَالِقُ وَبَارِئِ الْبَرِيَّةِ. The only one who will not perish is Allah, who is the creator and the originator of all creatures. So what is happening here is that the Ghali is claiming that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam has taught him that Imam al-Baqir is the creator and sustainer. But in this narration, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam is saying, no, كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ, he lied against us. I have not taught anything. If you apply the taqiyya card, then even this, you don't even have evidence or grounds to deny the claim of the ghulat. Because the ghulat can play the taqiyya card and they can say, well, the Imam is denying being the creator and sustainer. He's denying it out of taqiyya. So do you see how, if you accept the doctrine of taqiyya, every falsehood that is attributed to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt in the sources, whether it is the claim that they are gods, whether it is the claim that they are prophets, whether it is the claim that they are divinely appointed Imams, all of these three claims have been denied by the Imams. But the traditional side, they pick and choose. When the Imams deny divinity and they deny Risala, you accept. There you don't play the taqiyya card. But when they deny divine imamah, because that's now become the sectarian belief, even though Shaheed al-Thani testifies that this only became a sectarian belief much later. The vast majority of the companions of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam only believed that he was ulama, that the imams were ulama abrar, as you just saw from the debate that Abdullah bin Abi Ya'fur had with al-Mu'alla bin Hunais. So basically, in the sources, all three claims have been attributed to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt: divinity, prophethood, and divine imam. And in the sources, the Imams have emphatically and categorically rejected all three claims. Now, as far as the primary ghulat are concerned, when the Imams rejected their divinity, this is again there in the sources, where the Imam actually says, when they claim, when they deny their divinity, the ghalis, they tell the companions to whom the Imam is denying his divinity, the ghali tell that companion that the Imam is yaktumuka, he's doing taqiyya with you. He's actually God, but he is hiding this from you. Because this was happening a lot. If you look at, for example, this is again Mu'jam al-Ahadith al-Mu'tabara, you see Imam being told that there was this ayah of the Quran that ghulat like Banan were using. This is from Surah Zukhruf. وَهُوَ الَّذِي فِي السَّمَاءِ إِلَهٌ وَفِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَهٌ. That Allah is the one who is the God of in the sky and the God in the earth. So Banan said that actually the God of the earth and the God of the sky, these are two different entities. Okay. So the Imam said, no. And then basically he tried to claim, as you will see in A'yan al-Shi'a, you have the chief Qadi of Kufa testifying. This is volume 3 of A'yan al-Shi'a by Sayyid Muhsin Amin al-Amili. Volume 3, page 607, I believe it is. Yes, 607. Okay. Here, the chief Qadi of Kufa and the Mufti of Kufa testifies that there was this group of people, these ghulat, who used to enter in the presence of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and then they used to come out, and when they used to come to Kufa to make money, they used to forge ahadith in his name. يحدثون بأحاديث كلها أو كلها منكرات. They used to narrate ahadith, all of which were really strange and weird and bizarre narrations. They were kadhib, they were lies, mawdu'a, they were fabricated ala Ja'far. They were fabrications attributed to Imam Ja'far. لِيَسْتَأْكِلُ النَّاسِ. In order to make money and eat the money of people. They were devouring and consuming money, collecting money in the name of the Imams. بِذَلِكَ وَيَأْخُذُ مِنْهُمُ الدَّرَاهِمِ. And they were trying to take dirhams by promoting these false claims. And so, one of the claims that they made was وَأَنَّ إِلَهَ السَّمَاءِ هُوَ اللَّهِ. That the God of the sky is Allah, وَأَنَّ إِلَهَ الْأَرْضِ هُوَ الْإِمَامِ. But the God of the earth is the Imam. Okay, Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam is the God of the earth, according to the Ghulat. فَجَعَلُوا لِلَّهِ شَرِيكًا. So they made Imam a partner with God explicitly. جُهَّالِ. They were ignorant. وَاللَّهِ مَا قَالَ جَعْفَرْ شَيْئًا مِنْ هَذَا قَطْ. Imam Ja'far never ever claimed any such thing. كَانَ جَعْفَرْ أَتْقَى لِلَّهِ وَأَوْرَعَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. Imam Ja'far was far, way too God-fearing and pious to ever have made such blasphemous claims. Okay, but yet you will find in Rijal al-Kashi, the person is coming and telling him that, look, the people are making this claim about you, that Ilah al-Ard is someone else, Ilah al-Sama, Ilah al-Ard is you, the Imam, and Ilah al-Sama is Allah. And what does the Imam respond? He responds by saying, Wallah, ma huwa illa Allah wahdahu la sharika lah. He says, I swear by Allah, there is no God except Allah, the one and only true God. There is no partner for him. Ilahu man fis samawat wa ilahu man fil ardin. He's the God of the heavens and the God of the earth. Kadhaba Banan. Banan has lied. Alayhi la'natullah. May the curse of Allah be upon him. Laqad saghara Allah jalla jalaluhu wa saghara azamatahu. He's trying to reduce the greatness of Allah and reduce his greatness. So when the Imam falsifies and denies the statement of these ghulat, okay, what is the claim that is being made? The ghulat would say the Imam is doing taqiyya. He is actually the God of the earth, But yeah, he's swearing by Allah and he's saying, I did not say this and this is not my teaching. They would say, your level of Iman is very low, so he's doing taqiyya with you. The same thing when it comes to the other narrations. The other thing that the Imam denies, for example, here, the denial of this hadith, mata mitatan jahiliya, and there being Imam Muftaradul Ta'a, as you see the sons of Imam Zain al-Abidin are denying it. Here in this hadith that we mentioned, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq is denying it. Ma amartuhum bihadha, I have not ordered them, I have not taught them any such concept of Imam Muftaradul Ta'a or any such thing. In Rijalul Kashi also, ma amartuhum bidhalik, wala qultu lahum, I never told them any such thing. Fama dhanbi, what is my sin then? Okay. Here in the presence of Zayd bin Ali alayhi salam is testifying that the Imam never taught us this. Here, all of a sudden, the claim of taqiyya is applied. The claim of taqiyya is applied, and it is argued that no. When the Imams deny their divinity, they are speaking the truth. Although the Ghulat say no, they're not speaking the truth. They're doing taqiyya. See, you accept taqiyya. Why are you not accepting taqiyya here? So, no. Some of the learned traditionalists say, yeah, this goes against the Quran, so how can we accept it? Oh, yeah? And what about when they claim prophethood? So, yeah, this also goes against the Quran. Okay. And when they claim divine imamah, when they claim that Allah has made their obedience obligatory, when in the Quran there is no one whose obedience is obligatory other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and those whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam appoints to positions of political, administrative, or military power. But after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is gone, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt themselves are clearly saying that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not designate any such thing to us. The reason you should follow us is because we are well versed in the Quran and Sunnah. So we can help you understand the Sunnah, we can solve your difficulties, your confusions, your problems, we can explain to you halal and haram. And this is basically what the Imams devoted their entire lives to doing. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, they taught the Sunnah, but they never said that obeying us is obligatory. Rather, yes, what we transmit from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because you have no reason to doubt it, that you can obey and that you must obey. But in general, we are not claiming a special divine mandate for ourselves. The Imams clearly denied this divine mandate in the same language and in the same terminology and the same rhetoric with which they denied their prophethood and with which they denied their divinity, their being God. So the problem is that now there are levels of the Shia got divided. Some Shia, when the Imams denied their divinity, they played the taqiyya card here. And this is the Imam is doing taqiyya. He is actually God, but he's just afraid to admit it in front of everyone. So these became the Ghulat, the Nusayriyah. Then there was this other group of Shia who said, no. When the Imams deny their divinity, we accept that. They are not gods, but they are prophets. So this is another group of Ghulat. And then the Imams denied their prophethood. And so this group of Shia would say, no. Their denial of prophethood is taqiyya. And then there is the third group, which is when the Imams denied divinity, they accepted. When the Imams denied their prophethood, they accepted. When the Imams denied their divine imamah, they said, no, here they are doing taqiyya. So, Baba, if you're going to argue taqiyya here, then taqiyya can then argue it. Why are you picking and choosing that? Argue all the way. Become a proper ghali and say, yeah, everything the Imam denied was taqiyya. Even his divinity, denial of his divinity was taqiyya. And denial of his prophethood was also taqiyya. And denial of divine imam was also taqiyya then. But no, they're picking and choosing and saying, no, denial of divinity is haqq. Denial of prophethood is haqq. But denial of divine imamah is batil, it is a lie, it is taqiyya. So the correct way that seems is that we accept everything that the Imams deny. When they deny their being gods, their divinity, we accept. When they deny their prophethood, we also accept. And when they deny the traditional theory of divine imamah, we also accept that. And once that is out of the window, what is left is the ulama abrar theory, which is what the vast majority among the companions of Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam and Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, this is what they used to believe. Shaheed al-Thani testifies they had no concept of isma. They did not believe Imams are infallible. Rather, they believed they were pious, righteous, God-fearing scholars who were the most well-versed in the ummah. And the reason why they devoted themselves to these Imams and not to Abu Hanifa or Malik or Shafi'i was because none of these other Imams had such a clear chain connecting them to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Imam Ja'far and Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam had. So their chain to Rasulullah is the most superior chain, and it's the cleanest chain. It's all righteous, highly, heavily praised Imams and leaders in knowledge, whether it be Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, or Imam Hussein bin Ali alayhi salam, or Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, or Imam Ali alayhi salam. All of them are amazing, well-versed leaders in knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah. So this was the theory that they accepted. But yes, in light of this, I hope it has become clear to you how this doctrine was developed by people who had pecuniary and commercial interests in Kufa. They wanted to make money in the name of the Imams. These people came up with these ghulu-based doctrines. These doctrines were rejected by the Imams, and if we want to stand true to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we must also reject these doctrines like them, and we must not insult the memory and the legacy of our Imams by claiming, wal-'iyadhu billah, that they were liars, na'udhu billah, by playing the taqiyya card and by imposing this idea on them that they were, wal-'iyadhu billah, lying. Rather, we believe that our Imams were fearless and brave people. They were the grandsons and grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just as when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was chosen by Allah and appointed to the position of Risala, he declared it in front of everyone, in front of the kuffar and mushrikeen of Mecca, and he suffered torture and persecution as a result of that. His life came under danger. But when Allah appoints you, it's all worth it. You have to defend that appointment, even if your life is in danger, even if your safety is in danger. You don't have an option, because when Allah appoints you, you have to accept that, and you have to communicate that to the world so that the world may follow you and may obey you accordingly. But the very fact that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt did no such thing shows you what their actual belief was. So I hope with this it is clear to you. This matter has become clear to you, inshallah ta'ala. And yeah, ultimately our love and our reverence and our intense devotion to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt is not reduced by any of these discoveries and any of these findings. They are still the highest, loftiest, most illustrious personalities in the Ummah. They are the most knowledgeable, they're the most well-versed. They are the ones who transmitted the best knowledge of the Quran and Sunnah, and that's why whatever we can authenticate of their teachings, we definitely accept, we submit to it, we obey it, we promote it, and we invite people towards it, because their line is the best line to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even Sunni scholars like Imam Jalaluddin Abdurrahman bin Abi Bakr as-Suyuti, in his Alfiyya fi Mustalah al-Hadith, which is an advanced level textbook taught in Al-Azhar University and other Islamic institutes, when he's talking about the best and the most flawless chains that go back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he talks about the chain of the Ahlul Bayt, called the chain of the Ahlul Bayt, even Sunni scholars recognize that it is silsilatul dhahab, it's the golden chain, it's one of the best chains that goes back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, wa ahlu bayt al-Mustafa Ja'farun an abaihi in anhu rawin ma wahan. He says, as far as the Ahlul Bayt of Al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam are concerned, the best and most superior chain that this house has to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the chain which Ja'farun an abaihi, the chain which has Imam Ja'far alayhi salam narrating from his pious forefathers, from Imam Ali alayhi salam, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in anhu rawin ma wahan. He says, with one condition, that the rawi narrating from Imam Ja'far should not be a weak and unreliable narrator. Because if it's a weak and unreliable narrator, let's say it's a ghali, then you can get all sorts of heresy and blasphemy being attributed to Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. So you don't be fooled by everything that's attributed to him. Rather, only accept as his own grandson, and as he himself advocated and taught. He said, do not accept anything attributed to us which goes against the Quran and the Sunnah. Only accept what you can find corroboration for in the Quran and Sunnah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.